Hello everyone, so today we are looking at 2023 JMC, question number 1 to 15. So this is going to be pretty much an easy paper. Now let's take a look at what questions we've got, alright? So, basically, let's get started with the first question. Well, this is a simple numbers and operations problem on subtraction. So basically, if you're trying to take away 2023 from 3,202, what we can do is that we can just try to split 3,202 into 3,000, adding 202, and then subtracting 2023. And by doing that, of course, I can calculate 3,000 take away 2023 first, and that ends up with 977. Now I'm adding 202. And that is resulting to the answer 1,179. So this is just a basic calculation question, and that's going to result to C as the answer. Alright? So that's the first question. And now let's move on to the second question. How many of the following 5 options are factors of 30? So now you can just try to list all the factors of 30. We can write it as factor pairs. 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, and 5 times 6. And among these 5 options, you can see 1, 2, 3, and 5 are factors of 30, which there are 4 of them. So the answer is going to be 4. Alright? So for the second question right here, this is a number theory problem on factors and multiples. Alright? So that's what we have for the second question. Now let's move on to the third one. What is the value of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 over 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10? This is surely also a numbers and operations problem on fractions this time. So for the numerators, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to add up to 15. For the denominator, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's going to add up to 40. So we have 15 over 40, which can be simplified by 5 into 3/8. So the answer is going to be B for 3/8. Alright? Next, let's look at the fourth question. One of these is the largest 2-digit positive integer that is divisible by the product of its digits. Which one is it? So basically, we just try to test all of them, see whether these numbers are divisible by the product of its digits, and the largest one is just going to be the answer because the question has already told you that, right? So the first one, we have 12 divided by 1 times 2, which is 12 divided by 2, that's 6. The second one, 24 divided by 2 times 4, 6. So 24 divided by 6, that ends up with 8, sorry, 2 times 4, 8. That ends up with a 3. 36 divided by 3 times 6, which is 18. That's ending up with 2. 72 divided by 7 times 2, 14. I can pretty much see that's not divisible. 5 with the remainder 2, right? And then the last one, 96 divided by 9 times 6, which is 54. That's not divisible. 1 with the remainder of 42. So you can see that the first 3, they are divisible. These last 2 are not. And the largest one among them is surely going to be 36, right? Among all those that are divisible. So the answer is going to be 36, which is C. Okay? So that's for the fourth question. And now for the fifth question, this is a word problem on speed, distance, and time. You can also say that's a little bit of rounding and estimation. The record for traveling 100 meters by a dog on a skateboard is 19.65 seconds. So the speed can be calculated by distance over time, right? Which is 100 divided by 19.65. Approximately equal to 100 divided by 20. So that's approximately 5 meters per second. Alright? So you can say that's about 20. So you can just do 100 divided by 20, which gives us a 5 as the answer. Okay? So the answer is going to be E. Alright then, let's take a look at the 6th question. It tells us that in the question, when this prime number square is completed, the 8 circles contain 8 different primes, and each of the 4 sides has a total of 43. So, we know that these two numbers are going to add up to 30. These two numbers are going to add up to 20, because the sum in these two columns has to be 43, right? So 43 subtracting 13 and 23 gives us 30 and 20 respectively. And for 43, take away 13 and 23, we know that the center box right there is going to be 7, right? So now, the sum of the 5 missing primes, 30 adding 20 adding 7, that's 57. And of course, you can just try to fill it in. If there's 7, you can just do 17 and 3 and 11 and 19, for example, and you can see that they're all different primes, right? Just like that. Okay, so that's for the 6th question. Now we are moving on to the 7th question. What is the difference between the largest 2-digit multiple of 2 and the smallest 3-digit multiple of 3? So this, again, a question on factors and multiples in number theory. The largest 2-digit multiple of 2, which means the largest even number that is 2-digit, is going to be 98. The smallest 3-digit multiple of 3, well, we know that for multiples of 3, the digits are going to add up to a multiple of 3 as well, right? So starting from 100, if you count 101, the digits are not adding to 3. 102, you have digits adding up to 3. So the smallest 3-digit multiple of 3 is 102. Okay. And the difference between them, you just need to do a subtraction there, and that's giving you 4 as the answer. So the answer is B for this one. Okay. That's for the 7th question. Now the 8th one. A simple calculation question. Well, you can also say that it's number theory on primes and composites. Basically, as long as you know how to add the square numbers, you will be able to find the answer. 0 adding 1, that's 1. 1 adding 4, that's 5. 4 adding 9, that's 13. 9 adding 16, that's 25. 16 adding 25, that's 41. 25 adding 36, that's 61. So among them, you can see that 5, 13, 41, and 61, they are prime numbers, which means that there are 4 prime numbers altogether. Is that okay? So that's for this question. And then, moving on to question 9. What is the value of y? So you can see that in this isosceles triangle, we have LM equals to LN. And it means that the base angles of the isosceles triangle are the same, which means that 2x adding 8 has the same value as 3x take away 20. And now, solving this equation, you get x equals 28, which means each base angle is going to be, well, either 2 times 28 adding 8 or 3 times 28 take away 20. Either way, you're going to get 56 adding 8, which is 64 for each of them. And now you know that the top angle is 180 degrees, which is the sum of all interior angles in the triangle. Take away 2 times of 64 degrees. And that's going to be 180, take away 128, which is ending up with 52 degrees as the top angle. Now we just need to solve 4y take away 8 equals 52, which means 4y is 60 and y is 15 to solve the value of y. So it's going to be A in this question, okay? This is going to be a geometry problem on angles and lines, also a little bit related to algebra, solving linear equations, okay? So A is going to be the answer for this one. And moving on to the next one, geometry question, areas and perimeters. So, it tells us that the perimeter of this shape is 60 centimeters. What's going to be the area in centimeters squared of the shape? If the perimeter is 60 centimeters, first of all, for the sunken part, we can just try to rearrange these two sides such that this side goes there and this side goes there, right? It pops up, which means it has the same perimeter as this rectangle, complete one. So if the width is 18 and the perimeter is 60, we know this is also going to be 18 centimeters, and the height is going to be 12 centimeters to make a perimeter of 60. Which means now this short edge has 4 centimeters as the length, or the width. And then if the length there is 6, it means that for the area of the whole shape, you can do 18 times 12, which is the area of the whole large rectangle, subtracting 4 times 6, which is the area of this part that is cut away. So for 18 times 12, what we get is 216. For 4 times 6, what we get is 24. And the subtraction is going to give us 192 centimeters squared as the answer. So the answer is going to be A. All right, that's what we have. And for the next question, well, Scrooge is reusing tea bags. So this is going to be a word problem with ratio and proportion. The reason why I say that is because, well, if you read this question carefully, each tea bag, like fresh tea bag, can be used to make 1 decent cup of tea. And then 2 of such dried bags after the first decent cup can be making a new decent cup. And then 4 of the dry bags from the second decent cup can now make a new decent cup. Which means that if I have 4 bags, well, if they're all fresh, I can make 4 decent cups. Now, after they are dried for once, you can still make 4 divided by 2, which is 2 decent cups, right? And after they are dried the second time, you can still make 4 divided by 4, which is 1 decent cup of tea. So altogether, 4 bags is going to give you 7 cups of tea. And altogether, Scrooge has 120 tea bags. So if every 4 tea bags can make 7 cups of tea, 120 of them is just going to make 120 divided by 4 times 7, which is 210 cups of tea. So that's going to be the answer. All right, that's 210. And next, moving on to question 12, we have Brian the snail slithering, and this is again a speed, distance, and time problem. So you can say it's a word problem on speed, distance, and time. From 150 to 210, that's going to be 20 minutes, right? For 20 minutes, he has slithered 60 centimeters. 210, subtracting 150, 60 centimeters. So the speed is equal to the distance over time, which means 60 over 20. That's 3 centimeters per minute, right? And when did Brian started his slither? So by 1:50 p.m., he has already slithered 150 centimeters. So the time spent before that is going to be 150 divided by 3. That's 50 minutes. All right? The time is distance over speed, right? So 150 is the distance traveled already. 3 is the speed. A division is going to give us 50 minutes before 1:50 p.m. So if you trace 50 minutes back, it's going to end up with E as the answer, 1 p.m. sharp. All right? That's question number 12. So now for question number 13. What we have is another geometry question on areas and perimeters. We are told that the square, the outer square, has an area of 64 centimeters squared, which means each side is going to be 8 centimeters, right? And now we want to know the perimeter of one of these 4 congruent rectangles. If I'm just marking width and length and width and length and width and length and width and length, you can see that each congruent rectangle is made up of 2 lengths and 2 widths as the perimeter, which is 2 times length adding width. And it happens to us that width and length adds up to a side length of the square on the outside, or the outer square, which is going to be 8 centimeters. And as a result, we have 2 times 8, which is 16 centimeters as the perimeter of the congruent rectangle. Is that okay? So the answer is going to be D for this one. And for the 14th question, well, it is a miscellany question on number puzzles, which is pretty easy, this one. You can see that 3 of the x stacks up to make 7. If you have 3 times something ending with a 7, it has to be 9. 3 times 9 ends with a 7, right? With 2 carried over. And now we have 1997 there. And if you look at the tens column, 7 adding y adding 2 is going to end up with a 9. Which y can definitely be 0, which means like 2y adding 9 is something ending with a 9, right? So y can either be 0, which the calculation won't be correct because like 7 adding 6 adding 0 would not be 19, or y can be 5, which it is going to be correct this time because we have a carryover of 1. 7 adding 6 adding 5 adding 1 is going to be 19, yeah? So y is equal to 5, not 0. And we know x is 9. So x adding y is 9 adding 5, which is 14. And that's going to be E as the answer. Okay. And then the last question for the first half of this paper is going to be question 15, which is a word problem on time. It says that the train was scheduled to leave at 17:48 and arriving at 18:25. So, how long is it between 17:48 and 18:25? So you can just try to do a little bit of subtraction there. Borrowing 1 hour is the same as borrowing 16 minutes. So 85 take away 48, that's 37. So that's 0 hours, 37 minutes, right? Now, it says that it starts 4 minutes late and the journey took twice as long as scheduled. So the total traveling time is going to be 4 adding 2 times 37, which is 74 adding 4, that is 78 minutes. So, when did I arrive? You just need to add 78 to 17:48. And that's going to end up with 17 o'clock. And how many minutes is that? 126. Which 2 hours can be extracted from 126 minutes. And it goes to 19 o'clock and 6 minutes. So the answer is going to be B for this one. Alright? So, that's for question 15.